Yeah, that was really, that was really weak. I have a low level of confidence that you're doing well, okay? I'll just tell you that right now. How are you guys doing? Good? All right. Hey, just fake it. Okay? Fake it till you make it. That's what we say all the time at Hope City, right? Hey, my name is Justin. I'm one of the pastors here. So glad that you guys are here today. And if you're a guest with us today, super pumped that you would spend part of your Sunday with us on what we like to call Game 7 Sunday. And so if you're a Pacers fan, you know that you're here probably because you have 1 o'clock plans. And we'll be wrapping up second service on time. All right. So, hey, one of the things we do say around here all the time is Hope City is a place where you can belong before you believe. And so no matter where you are in your faith journey, no matter where, what your church background looks like, we're just excited that you would be here and hope that God meets you right where you're at. If you have a Bible, turn to John chapter 10. If you don't, no big deal. All the scripture that we're going to look at today is going to be up on the screen. And you can also follow along on the app. And one of the things that one of the reasons why we invested in that app early on is so that we can all stay connected. And the message notes are up there every single week. You can follow along. You can actually have spoiler alerts where you can go ahead of me and look at what I'm going to say and see if I actually say it in the way that I actually wrote it earlier this week. And so you can follow along on there, and the scriptures are on there as well. You can fill out a connection card and connect with us right through that app as well. Well, over the last few weeks, as Brandon said, we've been in this series called I Am. And we've been talking about the identity of Jesus. And you know, guys, there's 52 weeks in a year, right? And so each week we're going somewhere spiritually. And there are certain series that I absolutely love, that I really get into. There are certain series that are more topical in nature. Like we just did a relationship series back in February and early March. That was more of a topical series where we're talking about the topic of relationships. And I didn't really know how to feel about going into this series. I've never talked about these I am statements before, so this is all new content for me to but for me to digest and study as I'm presenting it to you every single week. And I got to tell you, I've learned so many new things about Jesus. We've been talking about these 7 statements that Jesus makes in the book of John about himself. And if we're honest, I think it's easy for us to project our hopes and dreams and ideal of what we want God to be onto him. And what's been so unique about this series and what's so unique about these 7 statements that Jesus makes is he leaves no room for imagination. He leaves no room for discussion. He makes 7 statements about himself that are completely clear, that he defines himself. He gives us his identity in these 7 statements. And one of my hopes for this series as we went into it 3 weeks ago is that as we learn more about Jesus, that more of Jesus would transform our heart. That the identity of Jesus would not just be something that we learn, it would be something that we take on, that we're supposed to be more like Christ. And so the first week we talked about Jesus saying, I am the light of the world. And we said that, that God offers us that, there is no darkness in light, that light dispels the darkness. And then the second week of the series, Trisha talked about, I am the truth, that Jesus says, I am the truth. And one of the most profound statements she made that week was the truth often hurts before it heals. Right? And that the truth can be very healing, but it also can be very revealing. It can be very vulnerable. And then last week, we talked about I am the vine. That Jesus says, I am the vine and you are the branches, and that his greatest desire for us is that we would stay connected to him. Now, he says, apart from me, you can do nothing. That's one of the reasons why last week we rolled out this 7-day devotional that we've been in through the Hope City app. We said, hey, over the next 7 days, let's just do our best to stay connected to Jesus through these devotions. And so just trying to put in the front part of our mind this idea that our life works best connected to Jesus. And today I want to talk about this statement that Jesus makes where he says, I am the good shepherd. I'm the good shepherd. What does that mean that I'm the good shepherd? Now, obviously Jesus is not a vine, right? And Jesus is not light. He's a person. But these are metaphors, right? And so what do these metaphors mean in the context of our life, and how do we relate to the Good Shepherd? So we're going to look at this passage in John chapter 10, verses 11 through 18. It says this, I am the Good Shepherd. The Good Shepherd sacrifices his life for the sheep. A hired hand will run when he sees the wolf coming. He will abandon the sheep because they don't belong to him and he isn't their shepherd. And so the wolf attacks them and scatters the flock. The hired hand runs away because he's working only for the money and doesn't really care about the sheep. I am the good shepherd.
I know my own sheep and they know me, just as my Father knows me and I know the Father. So I sacrifice my life for the sheep. I have other sheep too that are not in the sheepfold. I must bring them in also. They will listen to my voice, and there will be one flock with one shepherd. The Father loves me because I sacrifice my life, and so I take it back, so I may take it back again. No one can take my life from me. I sacrifice it voluntarily, for I have the authority to lay it down when I want to, and also take it up again. For this is what my Father commanded. Now, I love this. I didn't put this verse in your notes, but I put it in my notes because I think it's interesting. Verse 19 says this: when they heard these things, the people were again divided about their opinion of him. So this isn't like this feel-good message. Jesus is talking all throughout John chapter 10 about people who are for the people of God and people who are against the people of God. And he says, I am the good shepherd, implying that there are going to be people who try to take care of those who follow God that are not good. There are going to be imposters. There's going to be fakes. There's going to be this temptation to follow other people. And Jesus says, hey, I am the good shepherd because I lay down my life for the sheep. I put this in your notes. We discover who we are based on who Jesus says that he is. And he is the shepherd and we are the sheep. Now, I don't know how it kind of strikes you being compared to a sheep. You know, if Jesus is the metaphorical shepherd, then you are the metaphorical sheep, right? And you're like, oh, sheep, nice, cuddly, puffy, you know, like little cotton, like a little toilet paper, right? Like that's just nice and, you know, cottonelle or whatever those sheep were that were on the toilet paper. That's really a odd word association that just went through my mind. It's not in my notes. But anyway, sheep, the comparison of sheep is not a good one. We're going to talk about that in just a second, okay? This is not a compliment that Jesus has given. But here's something theological that we need to work out this morning, okay? This is free, okay? This is just free to take. This is biblical knowledge for you. Sheep mentioned over 200 times in the Bible, okay? Over 200 times God mentions sheep. Dogs are mentioned 44 times in Scripture. Now, some of them aren't good, all right, as a dog returns to its vomit. Cats, 0 times. Cats are not biblical people, okay? So I just wanted to work that out this morning. Although I would take a cat today over my 2 dogs. We ordered Papa John's pizza last night because my wife's out of town, so we just wanted to do dinner right. So we ordered some Papa John's pizza last night for dinner, and we set it down. It's still being debated who sat it on the table, but it's on the table. It's not on the floor. It's not on the table next to the couch. It's not on the couch. It's on the dining room table. And I go into the bathroom, and the kids go upstairs, and there's a whole pizza sitting there waiting for people to consume it. But my 2 dogs came over and annihilated it. Within 30 seconds, it was gone. And I came out of the bathroom, and I looked at the table, and I thought, did those kids take their pizza upstairs, which is not allowed? And it was even more egregious. They did not take it upstairs. The dogs ate it. And so Papa John's doesn't have. I should have bought the Domino's, right? Because the Domino's now has the insurance, right? And I think to myself, who needs take-home insurance on pizza? Me last night, all right? So anyway, the dogs are chained out back. No, I'm just joking. They're not. I don't want to know what is going to happen when the peppers that those dogs consume. Anyway, but yeah, I would take a cat right now, even though it's not biblical to have a cat. I would take it. So here's some truth about sheep, okay? Just so you get this metaphor in your mind. First of all, sheep lose their way. Sheep are directionally challenged. They have no sense of direction. That's why it says in John 15, where Jesus says, if a shepherd has 100 sheep and one wanders away, he will gladly leave the 99. We've been singing this song, Reckless Love, over the last few weeks and months, right? And such a powerful song of this powerful imagery of the shepherd leaving the 99 and going searching for the one. He goes searching for the one because that one sheep is directionally challenged, has no sense of direction, and they will not find their way back. You know people like that just get lost easily. It was not uncommon for sheep to get lost. Secondly, sheep are defenseless. If you've been in the church for any length of time, you know the story of David and Goliath. Right? David is this young sheep herder. He's not even a shepherd yet. He's just a herder of his dad's sheep. He's kind of an apprentice shepherd, which is not exactly really high on the family totem pole of responsibilities. And he's thought so that he's the 12th of 12 sons. And so he's not really thought of in a real high regard. And so he's just put out to pasture with the sheep. Well, his older brothers are strong. They're good looking. They have influence. And so they're in the army of Israel, and Israel is getting confronted by the Philistines. And Goliath, this big giant, is taunting the nation of Israel, and not just taunting the nation of Israel, but he's taunting the people of God. And David comes not to confront Goliath, he comes to deliver lunch to his brothers, okay? He's running an errand for his dad. And David shows up, and he is so appalled that the Israelite army would allow someone to talk trash about God and about the nation of Israel. And so he goes to King Saul and goes, hey, isn't anybody going to do anything about this? And Saul's like, have you seen this guy? There's no way any of us can take on this guy. He wants to fight one-on-one. And David says, well, let me fight him. And Saul basically says, are you crazy? You're a kid. There's no way you're going to fight Goliath. And here's how David responds. He says this, but David said to Saul, your servant has been keeping his father's sheep. When a lion or bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it. I struck it, and I rescued the sheep from its mouth. When it turned on me, I seized it by its hair. I struck it and killed it. David has been lifting, all right? Like David is no joke. He has no fear. But the reality is the sheep were completely defenseless. They had to rely on the shepherd for protection at all times. If you think about other species of animals, most species of animals have an ability to protect themselves, right? Not sheep. They have zero ability to defend themselves. They're defenseless. Third, sheep are stubborn. Sheep are completely stubborn. This is a real news story that I found this week as I was researching this. Some of you are like, what do you do during the week? This is what I do. Listen to this story. Hundreds of sheep followed their lead sheep off of a cliff in eastern Turkey, plunging to their deaths this week while shepherds looked on in dismay. 400 sheep fell 15 meters to their death in a ravine in the Van province near Iran, but broke the fall of another 1,100 sheep. They survived. Shepherds from a nearby village neglected the flock while eating breakfast. Hey, pass the eggs. Oh my gosh, where's my sheep? All right? Leaving the sheep to roam free. The loss to local farmers was an estimated $74,000. Now, I just think about this for a second. If 4 sheep go off of a cliff, right, you would think that the 5th one would go. I don't think that's a good idea, right? 400 sheep fall off to their death. They die, but they provide a pillowy bottom for the other 1,100 who survive. All right, so there is no forethought. There's no thought that says, you know what, we should probably learn from the mistakes of those who have gone before us. No, they're just stubborn. They're just going to do what the other person in front of them does, regardless of the outcome. $1,174,000 of loss of livestock. That's unbelievable to me. You know, and I was thinking about this. I just thought, man, sheep are so stubborn. Then I thought, some of my biggest regrets in life aren't the mistakes that I've made, they're the mistakes that I've repeated. Right? Because I'm just so stubborn. I know what I know. I don't need you to say what I don't know. I'm just going to do what I think is right. I'm just going to do it my way. Right? And so it's one thing to make a mistake. It's another thing to repeat a mistake out of being stubborn, out of being bullheaded, out of being unwilling to learn from the past mistakes. Finally, sheep are dirty. I mean, you think about sheep, you think about, the Serta commercial of counting sheep, and they're nice and white and pillowy. You go, color them. You don't color them because they're white. You put cotton balls on, crafts in Hope City Kids to represent sheep. But sheep are dirty. They have a white coat, but it is made of wool, right? And it is so absorbent. They're wrapped in this white wool that absorbs everything, and they are a mess. And here's the deal. Sheep have no ability to clean themselves. You think about the animals that you have at your house. A cat has the ability to clean itself. A dog has the ability to clean itself. Obviously, you get your dog, groomed, but the dog can still clean itself. Sheep has zero ability to clean itself. The only way that it's clean is if the shepherd shears it, right? And so there's this reality that Jesus uses this metaphor intentionally. It's not by accident that he calls himself the shepherd and he calls us sheep. He is the good shepherd. I put this in your notes. Sheep need a shepherd, and we need Jesus. We need Jesus because we lose our way. And maybe you're here this morning and this is your first time in church in a while, or maybe you started coming to church a few months ago because somebody invited you, and you just woke up one morning and you didn't realize how far you had gotten away from the person you wanted to be. Right? And so you know that there's this propensity in your heart to wander far away from God. There's an old hymn that says, prone to wander, Lord, I feel it, prone to leave the God I love. Right? That's all of us. Like Jesus uses this metaphor of sheep because we all can lose our way. We need Jesus because we have an enemy that doesn't just seek to trip us up. We have an enemy that seeks to kill and steal and destroy us. Right before this passage in John chapter 10, verse 11 through 18 that we just read, one of the most famous passages in really all of the New Testament is John chapter 10, verse 10, where Jesus says, I have come to give them life and life abundantly. Well, the verse right before that, he talks about this enemy that seeks to kill, steal, and destroy. So all of this is in context of why Jesus calls us sheep. Like we're defenseless without him. We have a spiritual enemy that doesn't just seek to discourage you in your life. He seeks to destroy everything that's good about your life. And so Jesus comes in and says, hey, I am the good shepherd. I'm here to protect. We need Jesus because we're dirty and we're broken and we have no hope in making ourselves clean. And some of you have realized this in your life. That's why you came into a relationship with Jesus, because you tried life your way and you tried to do good things to impress God and you tried the religious aspect of life and it just came up empty. And Jesus says, hey, why don't you let me do for you what you can't do for yourself? Let me make you clean. Let me wash you white as snow. Even though you're filthy, even though you're dirty, even though you're broken, even though your life is messed up, I can restore, I can redeem. And so what I want to talk about as we close today and as we kind of wrap up the message today, I want to talk about what the Good Shepherd provides for us. Why is Jesus called the Good Shepherd, and what does he long to bring to your life? Now, if you know me, if you come to Hope City for any length of time, you know that I'm not really into, I don't know that I've ever done like an alliteration message where all the points start with A or all the points start with C or whatever. Not that I'm against it, all right? There's some great communicators that do that. It's just not necessarily my style. But as I was putting the message together this week, there is no way around the rhyming of these words, okay? And so I just want to get that out there on the very beginning, like you're going to go, well, that's cheesy. I know, okay? But so then I tried, so the four words that we're going to look at are direction, protection, correction, and provision, all right? So then I thought, well, let's just shorten them up. So then they won't rhyme. Those correct, protect, correct, so direct. So I'm like, oh, that doesn't work either. So we'll just have to just go with it with me, okay? Because I think these are essential character traits of what God longs to provide in our life every single day because he is the Good Shepherd. And the first one is the Good Shepherd gives us direction. The Good Shepherd gives us direction. Just a show of hands, how many of you would say the predominant app that you use on your phone for directions is Google? Anybody Google people? Okay, all right, not proud Google people. All right, how many of you say you use Apple Maps as the predominant? Whoa, that is crazy. Okay, who uses Waze? Okay, all right. So yesterday, my future daughter-in-law graduated from Indiana Wesleyan, so my oldest son and I went to Indiana Wesleyan for her graduation. We're at her graduation in Indiana Wesleyan. Then my 8th grade son had a basketball tournament that started in Westfield and then moved at 2 o'clock p.m. to Noblesville Boys and Girls Club. So my wife is out of town speaking at a women's event. My mom is in town to help me with logistics, and so Micah and I are on our way down from Marion to Noblesville to meet my mom and my 8th grade son at the Boys Club in Noblesville for his 2 p.m. game. So we get there about 10 minutes till 2, and I walk in and I text my mom and I say, hey, are you guys here? What court are we on? No response because she's driving. And I say to the lady